This is your breaking news stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now take a look at the headlines coming out, you guys. Stimulus update: surprising allies join the fight for the renewed child tax credit. And they're talking about Republicans, as I've let you know here on the channel. As we get closer to midterm elections, things will be wrapping up as Democrats are going to be saying we will pass all these provisions and things right before the elections to get people on board and let them know that we're here to help them and maybe persuade them when they hit the polls to vote to keep us in power while you guys were here. And Republicans are doing this as well. We're hearing that might be needed as Joe Manchin is choking off one of the America's best anti-poverty programs. And yes, we're hearing it's those child tax credits. Joe Manchin is working with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on a scaled-back version of Build Back Better bill, the details of which have not been revealed. It's been very close just between the two because they don't want things to fall apart like they did prior. However, we're also hearing that a lot of people are saying, hey, we need stimulus provisions, and if you're not going to provide them in the Build Back Better bill, then issue them some executive orders and executive actions. And people are saying they're tired Democrats not fulfilling their promises while they're in power. I reported to you that Bernie Sanders and several other Democrats are saying that Biden, you've waited too long, you've messed up on those $2,000 checks, and now in these midterm elections, it's going to be hurting you and Democrats. Republican representative pushes $1,000 stimulus checks to Americans on the federal level, $1,000 stimulus checks to take off if Republicans win in the midterm elections. Watch for action on gas tax holiday, child tax credits, and crime experts said as Republicans are saying we're gonna take the reins and we're gonna get you those provisions. So you guys, we're gonna dive into the details. Well, you guys, I'm going to make sure that you know about everything and you're caught up on all that's going on. Let's dive into the latest just coming out as we're hearing Joe Manchin is saying he won't support the child tax credit, but Republicans are coming out and saying vote for us and you'll get those provisions. This article that just came out today and it says surprising allies join the fight for a renewed child tax credit. It says several Republican senators have joined scores of Democratic lawmakers in calling for the U.S. to reinstate child tax credit payments. For now more than a year, Democrats like President Joe Biden, Senator Sherrod Brown, Mitchell Burnett, Cory Booker, Ron Wyden, Rivers, and Raphael Warnock, and Vice President Kamala Harris have advocated for regular child tax credit payments to help families struggling to feed and clothe their children. Now, in Maine, Senator Bernie Sanders spoke from the Senate floor saying that the Senate has strange priorities for fighting so vociferously against the program that helped 3.7 million children out of poverty during the worst pandemic. Instead, Congress passed a $53 billion bill to help the microchip industry. Food insecurity was not addressed, and here they're saying the children that are in poverty in our nation. Let me know your thoughts. Now, new support today rather than support the child tax credit plan pushed for months by their Democratic colleges. 3 Republicans have claim to a plan of their own. The Family Security Act 2.0 is meant to encourage work and support pregnancy. Under this plan, eligible parents could receive $350 per month for each child aged 5 and younger, and $250 for children ages 6 to 11. The bill was introduced by Senator Mitt Romney and is co-sponsored by Senators Richard Burr and Steve Daines. This new plan also proposes that pregnant mothers receive an extra $2,800 or $700 a month for the last 4 months of their pregnancy. So this is a new bill being proposed by Republicans saying that we're going to be pushing this. And also maybe they could replace Senator Joe Manchin if Democrats were to do some sort of standalone bill where they wanted to do just child tax credits. and make it get some of those Republicans on board in replace of Joe Manchin. That could be a possibility, but it's very unlikely that Democrats will put a reconciliation bill with just child tax credits. It's very likely there will be an assortment of other provisions that Republicans would not support, so it's very hard for them to find one Republican that would replace Senator Joe Manchin to get that last vote that they need to pass it through the Senate now. Senator Joe Manchin refuses to support the renewal of the child tax credit without a work requirement, and many Republicans agree. So he's actually on the side with the Republicans, and it's those Republicans along with Democrat Manchin who will determine whether the child tax credit will find new life. Now, to address those concerns, Romney made a change to his original proposal. His new plan dials back the amount of families earning less than $10,000 than they can collect it, make it proportionate to their claims income. Now, potentially income limits. If the bill managed to get through the House and the Senate, the upper income threshold for this new plan would be $200,000 or $400,000. For couples filing jointly, at this point, the payments would then begin to phase out. Now, according to Romney, people need to be participating in the workplace, so you're not going to be able to get this unless you are working in some sort of way. Now, this is currently proposed by Republicans. We're going to be seeing if they win, if they are going to be pushing something through, but we're hearing Republicans are starting to support this provision. In the meantime, we're going to be seeing what's going to be unfolding with Build Back Better and the child tax credits, which are likely not included. As take a look, Joe Manchin is choking off one of the Americans' best anti-poverty programs. The Washington Post says the expanded child tax credit has been one of the United States' most successful anti-poverty programs in decades, and it's shameful that Congress has not extended it for 2020 to about 3 million children were kept out of poverty when the program started last July. And the premise was simple: raise the amount of credit a little and give it out monthly instead of waiting for families to claim it once a year on their tax returns. For every child under 6 years old, low and middle income families receive $300 a month, and for children ages 6 to 17, $250 a month. While claims through listen to this were made about families that were using the money, Senator Joe Manchin reportedly worried that parents could use the funds to buy substances. There's no evidence to back this up. In fact, there's more and more data that's showing that households with kids, especially lower to moderate income ones, spend the bulk of the money on basics like food, housing, clothing, and other items such as for school. Still, Manchin bonus objection killed any hope of renewing the program after it ended in December. The Federal Reserve recently released one of the most definitive reports on how families spend the child tax credits, and you can see here it says in dark brown, $25,000 to $50,000 is the annual income for the households. Over 33% of them use it on rent, mortgage, or utilities, and 22% of those spend it on the child. So right there, about half spend it on rent, utilities, and mortgage, or on their children. And it says families with incomes over $100,000, the vast majority of them likely didn't really need it. How now there's some resistance from Senator Joe Manchin, and Republicans are requiring that there's some sort of work eligibility set in place. We're going to be seeing if this gets any traction, but like I mentioned, as we get closer to midterm elections, child tax credits, social security increases, stimulus checks, wiping out student loan debt, all these provisions, they're coming back, and we're hearing promises of them being fulfilled by both parties. But it's going to be continuing upon who is in control and who wins these midterm elections.